What we do is we allow people to take money out of Wall Street in their IRAs and 401ks, no taxation, et cetera. It stays in their IRA. And then their IRA can buy real estate. They can invest in syndications.
Here's the one.
I have a dream.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I can do this all day.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Cinderella's story out of nowhere.
It's in the hole. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Welcome back to Capital Hacking, John. Tomahawk hit. It is a day to remember.
Oh, man, we crushed it. It was such a great interview here with Carl Fischer, CamaPlan. He helps people. He has a business that helps people redirect their 401k and their IRAs. I am a client of his, and Josh.
I'm a beneficiary.
He's a beneficiary.
Any of his investors invest with us. So if you haven't heard of this yet, this is, as John says during the show, this is one of those ways we're going to help you crack the code, because not everybody realizes this. John and I have been around things for a while, and we're in our 40s, and we had never heard about this concept of being allowed to spend your IRA on alternative investments until just the last 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah. I did it about 4 years ago, and I had heard about it for a few years and thought that was only for the rich. And it's interesting because during our interview, Carl talks about how, okay, well, if you have
over
$100 million with Schwab, then they will help you redirect your IRA. So my perception was correct in that it was only for the ultra rich, but it was incorrect because it's actually at everyone's fingertips.
Yeah, and that's the thing, shows like this, we hope are a public service announcement just to help get your mind thinking a different way. You're going to hear us talk a lot about alternative investing in this show and about how there's $32 trillion stuck in IRAs. It's only stuck if people don't realize how free they can be with their IRAs. So for all of us who are in our 40s or whatever, and we're not ready to retire, of course, we think of that money as stuck. I tend to think of it as stuck. Say, it's in Vanguard, it's in Wall Street. You can't do anything with it. But actually, we hope these shows teach you that you can move it to a program like CamaPlan. It can be used within weeks to buy a building. Like John, some of the buildings you own, I know you own 30s, whatever number of buildings. Some of those could have been purchased with one of your IRA accounts.
They could have been.
And you might have more capital at your fingertips than you even know.
Yeah.
So that's what this show
But you can use it for so many spaces, oil and gas, precious metals that we talked about. We talked about you can buy businesses with them. There's so many ways you can actually get your money out of stocks, which are up and down and may disappear, into actual tangible uses like hospitality, like accountable equity.
How many times did he mention hospitality? He loves this place. He's let Renault a lot. We love him.
Why not? What's not to love?
By the way, there's the other thing. You get to go see the thing you bought.
Yeah.
Instead of Amazon stock that's on the internet.
Yeah.
All right. We love you. We hope you're going to enjoy this show. We'll see you on the next.
Get ready. Let's get it.
Today's the day we get to have Carl Fischer back on the big show. Welcome back to the big show.
Yes, Carl, we are pumped to have you on because so many of our listeners have used your company. How are you doing today, Carl?
I'm doing good. I hate these things on Fridays, though. I was going to be out fishing. Thank God the weather turned bad, so I'm good. I was going to try to do this via the boat, but we're good. I didn't want to rub it in. As you can see, I've got my long sleeve shirt on, etc.
He does not have a long sleeve shirt, this guy.
Were you just traveling? Where were you in the world, Carl?
I just got back from Antarctica.
Woo! What?
Yeah, we flew down to Buenos Aires, Argentina, and then we hopped on a cruise ship and went down to Antarctica, and being a hunter, it was kind of hard to see all the birds and things out there and not have a gun. But there's probably some other people that don't like to hear that. So that's all I'll say about that. But I did see a lot of wildlife. I saw, seals, walruses, penguins galore, albatrosses, whales. We took the cruise ship. It was a small ship. We took it around a lot of icebergs and watch the animals get up and off the icebergs and watch the icebergs floating around. The captain even stopped and brought a couple of expeditions off of the ice there at the Antarctica. And it was a fascinating tour. It was like 18 days that we did down there.
And, all right, so we're gonna get into business in a minute here, guys. I guess I'm gonna sound like an ignoramus. What is an albatross? What animal is that?
It's a bird. It's a big bird. It's got a wingspan. The ones we saw were almost 9 feet. We had one of the National Geographic explorers on there that went with us and was working with the ship and would tell us all of the different animals and birds and everything that you could see. So it was like having our own guided tour as we hung with them.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah, really.
Was that on a bucket list? Had that been on the plans for a long time?
Well, I mean, visiting all of the continents was kind of on my bucket list. So the opportunity came up. So we took it and we spent January there.
It's a gift to get to know you better and better over the years, Carl. I'll give a little more backstory. We've already mentioned it briefly in the intro, but Carl Fischer, of course, well known as the co-founder of CamaPlan, a self-directed IRA business that frees money from Wall Street so that people can invest in anything legally allowed by the IRS code using their IRA and directing it. And he has funny sayings. I'm going to let him do his Roth sayings and all that stuff. I find them humorous, but they're like catchphrases you have. And I'm going to ask you a couple questions, but what's one of your Roth catchphrases? I always forget it.
You want to pay taxes on the seeds or the crops. That's one of my favorites.
Love it.
Forever tax, right? Or what is it? The for never?
Yeah. You want to go, you want to be forever taxed or never taxed.
Yep. That's the one.
Yeah.
And by the way,
I kind of stole that a little bit off of some other people out there, Ed Slott specifically.
Yep. And that's the whole thing. So as John was saying, I think we should mention you've been on the show, and so has Ryan, who does a great job. Twice before, we've had Ryan on episode 88, who talked about using IRAs to self-directing IRAs outside of Wall Street and alternative investments. And you did one of my favorite episodes. You're going to love this. Wait till if you remember. Go back in the Wayback Machine to June 2020, episode 122, where we named it, "What the Heck is Going On in the Economy?" Remember, that was
I love that name.
The heart of the pandemic craziness. Things were weird back then. Everybody's talking. Everybody go back and check out 122 and see how smart Carl was. He nailed it. But
Jeez.
I know you're nervous, aren't you, buddy? You're going to have to re-listen to that one. So tell us a little bit about what you do and what CamaPlan is, just so we can level set and get everybody understanding your business.
Yeah.
Yeah. My business is self-directed IRAs, 401ks, health savings accounts. And what we do is we allow people to take money out of Wall Street in their IRAs and 401ks, no taxation, et cetera. It stays in their IRA. And then their IRA can buy real estate. They can invest in syndications. They can invest in LLCs that are doing hospitality. There's all kinds of different investments out there. We've had people invest in precious metals, gas and oil, mineral rights. So whatever you can invest in that the IRS tells you can't, which is basically collectibles and life insurance, is everything else is available to you. So people feel a lot more comfortable. Like I grew up around real estate. My mom and dad did it, and their moms and dads do it, and now my kids do it. But when I found out that I could get tax-free rent and tax-free sales, I mean, it was a no-brainer. It just increased my net worth. At this point, every year I save, 37% on taxes.
Wow.
For all the assets I have in there. So it makes my return go higher. And one of the things I do is I try to keep my properties at a low rent. And the reason I do that is because I have a lot more people to choose from when it's low. And I always want to choose the best tenant because I don't want to have a lot of drama, et cetera, with the property and people when they realize they're getting a deal are better tenants generally. So there's several byproducts that I've found from investing in real estate. I learned about it, back in the early or the mid 1990s, and then opened up the company almost 20 years ago this year. So,
Wow.
yeah, just showing my age, man.
Yeah, so I'd heard of this term of redirecting of 401k and redirecting IRAs, and I never I never understood it at all until a few years ago. My buddy Steve Lloyd, that we've had on the show, started talking to me about CamaPlan, and hey, John, you should look into redirecting your IRAs, and and so there was an investment that I jumped into that Josh and I have also interviewed David Zamarin, who owns a company called Detrapel, and I redirected an IRA through your company, had a great experience. And then you and I got to personally meet a few months ago, and I felt bad because I bent your ear for a long time, asked you all kinds of questions. So we'll get back to that. One of those questions that I asked you was, what motivated you to start CamaPlan?
Well, my dad died. I was working at Kennedy Space Center launching rockets. He died pretty unexpectedly. He was 60 years old. And he died land rich, cash poor. And I thought I'd taken care of everything. I left it kind of up to my mom, but then found out that, after raising 12 kids, she had lost some of her real estate expertise. And I went down and stepped in and tried to help her out. But I found out that there was a loan out there that was in default that we had to pay 28% on. And I said, well, we got to get rid of this, stop the bleeding. And what I did is I borrowed some money. I put an ad in the newspaper, or I went to the newspaper and looked for money to lend section in the classified, found a guy that said he could do it in a few days, and told him the situation. He looked at it. 3 days later, he said, we'll close, and I'm going to charge you 12%. I said, 28 to 12 is good enough. I can live with that. And at the closing, I realized it was an IRA, and that surprised me. And I didn't, understand it too much, but I knew what IRAs, 401ks were. So I took care of the business, got rid of the loan, sold the property. And I didn't sell the property. I went back and found out that I could refinance now that everything was settled. And when I did that, I asked him, I said, I can get a loan from the bank at 6%. If you give it to me at 7%, I'll keep it with you. He said, why the hell would I want to do that? I told you I'm lending money at 12 to 18%. And I said, I know, but it's a good piece of property. It's got a low loan to value, and I've paid you religiously for, the past 10 months. And he goes, yeah, I know, but that's good, but I can get that money back and put it back out on the street at 12% or to 18%. And I said, but what if you have to foreclose? He says, quite frankly, I was hoping to foreclose on you. Look at how much money I would make. So that changed my whole perspective and my paradigm shift at that point. I said, that's actually a good way to do it. At this point, it was only 30% loan to value. So he would have made 70% in a year. And I said, I want to do this, versus going to work and get my 6 or 3% match from the company and still showing up to do work. So then I went out and I started looking around for it. It was kind of secret at the time. Not many people could use the IRAs and 401ks out there, even though it's been was going on since the 70s. So that's how I got into it. I said, I showed a lot of other people how to do it. And then they said, why don't you open up your own company? And I asked my sister to help me, and we opened it up, and people just liked it. I said, we don't have to have a sales team because this product will sell itself. And that was a mistake. That was a wrong thinking message. It will sell itself, but you have to educate people.
You have to educate. Yeah. And that's what
you guys have seen how helpful it is in building wealth individually yourselves.
Yep. So we're gonna
how good it's for business.
Yep. Why don't we break into a few cool things about it all? I mean, I'll throw one. I could tell that story because I love that story. I remember talking to you about it at a conference 4 years ago with Mr. Van Horn and you, and running that conference in Philadelphia at the Mid-Atlantic Summit. And you were telling me, and it just stuck with me, that you learned about it because you took over your parents' estate, your father's estate, and you had to solve a problem. And you're like, this guy's charging 12%. And then it just all the synapses started clicking. You're like, wait a second, this is a great idea. And you told a story back then, and you're like, so I wanted to do some research on IRAs, and it was before the internet. I mean, this is the 90s. That the internet,
Yep.
Wasn't as easy to use or maybe even common. So you just went to the library and you had to read all the research. And so I love that.
Yeah. First of all, I went to the library and they didn't have it. And I went back to Cornell, who told me they were the best, when I went there, they had the best library around, and then I went to the IRS to figure it out, but there weren't any books on it. Now you can find every Tom, Dick, and Harry wrote a book on it, 25 years later. And, it's pretty common in the financial magazines, et cetera. But yeah, it was hard to get that information.
A couple things here. I think we should do a little primer on some things that I've been watching and observing for 4+ years since I've learned about it. Like, John, tell me more about the typical investment that you see in, first of all, how big is the world of IRAs and 401ks in the country or in the world? How much money is locked up in these retirement vehicles?
I didn't check it this year, but last year it was $32 trillion.
With a T.
With a T, yep.
32 trillion. So most of all investable capital, or a lot of investable capital, tremendous amount of capital, is stuck in IRAs. People like you,
401ks, yeah,
and 401ks. People like you that created companies. And I apologize. I've done this a few times on podcasts. I just love putting this out there. When I first heard of this, folks, people said, "Oh, Josh, you raise capital and do big projects. People want to invest with you. You should encourage people to use self-directed IRAs." And my first impression that I thought I had to explain to people was that you're not taking the money out of the IRA, getting hit with tax, and then investing in people like us. You're keeping it within the construct of the legal structure of an IRA, but the money is going to come in a check and go into this real estate project. And that takes a minute. And I was happy to hear you say it when you defined it. I bet you that's a question that always has to be addressed when people learn about it the first time and they're offered the chance to buy a piece of real estate using their IRA. I think naturally people think they think we're liquidating the IRA and buying, but that's clearly the whole point. You're not. There's no taxable event at the time you move money from Schwab over to CamaPlan. There's no taxable event there. And when the money goes from CamaPlan into a project, there's no taxable event. Not until there is a real withdrawal, right, Carl?
Yeah, right. There is no withdrawal. But just so you know, Schwab will do this for people that have in their accounts at Schwab over $100 million.
$100 million.
Yeah. So if you have $100 million, you don't have to use us. You can use Schwab. And of course, Schwab tells you there's no fees, but our fees are way better than what you end up paying to Schwab or Fidelity or even different banks. So, and it used to be less, but the rules and requirements have gotten more onerous over the past 20 years, like anything else in business. But yeah, it's, you bring your money over, it stays in your IRA. You're still required to take it out at certain amounts of times, right? Your contribution amounts are the same. But remember, anything that you make doesn't count as a contribution, that's earnings. And if you really think about it, when you're working in your 401k or your IRA, they put money out of your check into that account, and then you pick stock. So they take that cash out and buy a stock. And in our case, you'll buy a piece of real estate, or you'll lend money, or you'll buy an interest in a hospitality company, or you will buy some precious metals, et cetera. So there's all kinds of different avenues that most of the brokerage houses don't deal with because it takes more time and effort.
Yeah.
It makes a good niche for us, and we're good at it.
And here's what I love about our podcast, and Josh calls it an audio mastermind, and that's really what it is. And the slogan is cracking the wealth code, and talking about Schwab and how you need 100 million, and then they'll help you out with redirecting your IRA. And here, normal everyday people can redirect 401ks and IRAs, and a lot of people don't know about it. Question for you, Carl, is are the rules and regulations different state to state? And if so, like what states are you able to do business in?
No, we can do business in all the states. IRAs, 401ks are primarily federal programs. The different states will give you, a deduction for, the same as the feds will, and some won't. Like Pennsylvania will still tax you on some of your deductions, or won't tax you on that, but will tax you when you take the money out, et cetera. So you have to just look at your state law and see exactly how IRA distributions and IRA contributions are covered.
Yeah. So let's clarify this.
If you go to Florida, you don't have to worry about state taxes because they don't have any.
Yeah, Florida, Texas, Tennessee. Isn't there 5 states that are that way? Or am I right?
There's a couple of them out there, but since I'm in Florida, I always like to rub it in with you guys wearing the sweater.
I was wondering why you only said Florida. That makes sense now. I lost my train of thought. That is funny. So no, let's get back to that. So when people think about redirecting their 401k or IRA and buying investment properties, there are rules as far as like if you buy an investment property, multi-unit, whatever that is, and it's collecting rent, what are the rules around that? Because people will have questions on that, how it's regulated and rules.
Well, I mean, if you buy the multifamily cash position and there's no debt on it, you basically will get all of the rent will go into your account. If there is some debt on it, you may have to pay something that's called unrelated business income tax or unrelated debt financed income, which isn't a big deal because it means you're making a lot of money if that's the case. And I would say, talk to your accountant and see where the situation is, or call us up and we'll go through it with you. But if you buy the house next door for cash out of your IRA, and they're paying you rent every month, it's just like a dividend. It goes back into your account. And if you're over 59 and a half and you want to take it out and it's in a Roth account, you'll pay no taxes on it. If it's in a traditional account, you'll pay the tax rates that you have with your other income. So it's really no different than any other investment out there. If you're buying stocks, bonds, or municipal funds, yet you're still going to pay taxes when you take it out, unless it's in a Roth, and then you're not. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I want to say, Carl? And this is so hopefully you guys have a chance to grab a pen and paper. One of the nice things about groups like CamaPlan, and I know this sounds like we're, over the top in love with CamaPlan, but
well, you are.
We are.
We are. But go check out CamaPlan.com and wait till you see how many resources. I'm pulling it up right now, but the amount of education that you don't have to pay for, you don't have to be a member yet, right, is extensive. And it talks about, you learn a lot. You guys have podcasts, you have webinars, you have deep dives into ways people are finding alternative investments. Typically, an alternative investment makes more money and has more collateral. By the way, that's the surprise. Wall Street doesn't have much collateral behind it. But typically, alternative investments, especially real estate, they have a basis of what do you call it, a real investment basis. So no wonder once people find out about these resources and about using their IRA, no wonder people are attracted to what you do. So anyway, it's called CamaPlan.com. And then if you want to click on the resources page, there's everything from, oh my gosh, here it is, events and media, upcoming guests, recorded webinars, articles. It's impressive, buddy. Thank you for doing that. I've been part of some of those programs. As a matter of fact, I was on one of the first ever podcasts, episode 4. Wait a second. Accountable Equity. Melanie and Josh were on there. Fun and profitable hospitality ownership. Wow. And now you've had hundreds of episodes, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. Well, Josh, you were one of our stars, started us off. And
That's true.
and look where you are now.
It's amazing what you've done for me. Now, I'm sitting in this beautiful office all because of CamaPlan. I love you guys so much. No, and then I do want we want some statistics, and then we want a how-to, if you don't mind. And then, of course, John's going to pepper you with tough questions. I'm going to do the easy one. How many families and or individuals have moved and liberated their money out of other IRA programs into the self-directed CamaPlan program? How big of an organization have you attracted now?
We have over 7,000 accounts.
Okay.
But when you look in the self-directed world out there, it's like 2 or 3%. It's hard to get those numbers based on retirement statistics, how many people are actually in self-directed accounts.
However, it's micro. So of the all of us that have some IRA or 401k, only you believe it to be less than 2%, 3% are in this freedom of being able to self-direct. And you're doing the best you can in growing your company from an imaginary, you created this company. Now 7,000 accounts have been created. Thank you for doing your part to liberate the money, get it into alternative investments. So how much is that amount of cash under custody? I think it's called, not under management, but under your custody.
I think it's over $1 billion.
Wow. Dude, you've liberated $1 billion. Now that's a B, but that's a whole lot more than most people out of what would be, Wall Street. Most of the time people, by the way, I know people can still buy stock when they're at CamaPlan, but the primary value of getting self-directed the way you do it is they can do really tangible, what's called real asset investing. So it's amazing, $1 billion.
Yeah, alternative investments or, things that you can feel and touch. I mean, I had the Wachovia stock back in 2008 when it was $32 on Friday and 10 cents on Monday.
Wow.
So I've never seen a piece of property do that. But I do want to caution people, be careful, do your due diligence on any investment that's out there.
Always. Yeah. By the way, that's part of it, right? I mean, when you do educational programs, it's always educational focused. And you do it on all different types of asset classes, and you let guest people speak about it. But of course, the next step is a whole series of due diligence. And you said that perfectly.
Yeah. And Mark Halpern's got not that I'm promoting him, but I know that he just started a course to help people do their due diligence.
Carl, why do you think so little amount of people with 401ks and IRAs, why don't they take advantage of these opportunities to, self-direct?
There's no sex or sizzle in IRAs.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. When was the last time you or your family, it came up as a subject at the dinner table? People are more interested on where they're going to do their summer vacation or the Super Bowl or the Eagles. And so not that those things are bad, but I just think their priorities aren't in the right place. And I don't think the TV and television talks about people. And I'm not sure a lot of people, I don't think the universities and the schools promote individuality and making your own choices.
And then, of course, you buried the lead, as they used to say in journalism. The lead is what you do. There is no commission, right? You've basically set up a very transparent model. Whereas at Schwab, isn't the whole model fees and then perhaps commissions? So there's no economic reason for anybody to promote the good stuff you and I know about in self-direct.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so many books and articles out there. Peter Thiel has $1 billion in his IRA supposedly. Mitt Romney put a little bit. When he released his stuff when he was running for president, our phones rang off the hook. So, I mean, there's enough things out there, but how many people think that they can do it and think that they can be better than their broker? What have they been taught?
Yeah, dude, that is a great point that you just made, Carl. So let's pick your brain a little bit. What are you seeing that is trending as far as the alternative investing space? What are people putting their money in right now?
I see a lot of people putting their money into the precious metals. I still see people putting it into real estate, but that has slowed down to some extent. And I'm starting to see more people doing loans because the interest rate from the banks have gone up. And if you have anything like prime or prime plus 1 or 2, that's climbing. It's continuing to climb. So, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that had 8%, loans. And now I think if you go to buy a car or a used car, they're charging you 9 to 11%.
Wow.
So, and the Fed's not finished raising rates. So it's got, I just think it's, that's another one that's there. And the other one is people are saying, I'm going to buy businesses because businesses are, or a lot of businesses are passing the cost on to the clients, and they're inflation protected to some extent, just like real estate is, because they pass the rent increases onto the clients.
What's what's the most interesting thing that you observed people using their self-directed IRA to invest in?
What's the most interesting? I mean, we've seen llamas. We've seen renting out a bull for mating purposes. We had one person want to buy lottery tickets. We researched it, and they said they could do that with their IRA, but I chose not to do it because you got to pay $14 million to do that. Last thing I want to do is have my name in the newspaper. This guy took his IRA and let him invest in lottery tickets.
That's legal? Like someone could take their IRA. I mean, I don't gamble and I don't buy lottery. Was that quote unquote legal for somebody to do?
It would be legal, yeah.
Wow.
Well, no, that's amazing.
Don't come to CamaPlan with it though, unless you're going to do a fair amount. You can show me you got, a bunch more money.
I love it. Well, that brings up a surprise question. Is it that personal? Meaning, is there when you're the custodian, now we're jumping on the other side of your business, do you have to evaluate their investments? What is your responsibility?
Do we have to vet them and see if they're good or not? No, we don't. But we don't have to, just like Schwab and Vanguard and the rest of them can do real estate, notes, precious metals, etc. They choose not to. And so as one of the founders, I chose not to do the lottery tickets. But generally, we don't do that. We let people invest in what they know and understand. We ask them if they've done their due diligence and how they feel about it. And we try to make sure they're not doing a prohibited transaction, buying a house from their relatives or their mom or dad, something like that. But other than that, it's pretty much when we say self-directed, you want to use your experience, your expertise, and your knowledge to make those decisions.
No, I think because when I did this a few years ago with you guys, I think there were questions when I invested with Detrapel because it was such a new company. I think you guys did look in and make sure it was a company and it was viable, and you did. And you actually, it helped with me doing due diligence. But yeah, you guys were fantastic to deal with. And as far as fees and rates, I couldn't tell you offhand, but I think they were really reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at what you'd pay in taxes versus what you're saving overall, it's inconsequential in most cases.
Well, Carl, it's great to have you on. If you want to make an opining prediction on what's coming this year, we would love to hear it. You've been studying investing in the economy for a long time. You're a rocket scientist, which we always call you out whenever you're at one of our events at Accountable Equity.
Is he rocket scientist?
No, he's literally a rocket scientist.
Okay, so there is rocket science.
Yeah, no, not that.
It's not rocket.
There's a rocket scientist behind this business. Tell us about your predictions for 2023 in the economy and where we're going.
Well, for 23, I suspected there would be a recession, but that was before they did the Inflation Busting Act and they released another $1.7 trillion. So I do think that's going to keep us out of recession this year.
Yeah.
I don't think inflation is going to be under control. I don't think it's going to be below 4 or 5%, even if they keep raising rates. I do think the raising of the rates has already hurt real estate prices to some extent, but the backlog and the demand for real estate is still high, so people are gonna figure out how to do it. I believe personal debt with personal credit cards is going to increase in this next year because people are going to need it. I don't know where all that $1.7 trillion is going. I don't know if it's going to the Ukraine. I don't know if it's going to businesses, if it's going to individuals. But, hopefully that money's going into the economy and will push the recession off. And I don't think interest rates such as, the Prime Plus is going to be going down this year like a lot of people have predicted.
Wow. Thank you for your wisdom here, Carl. And let me just speak to your character. So you and I had a great conversation a few months ago. And then I heard from you literally a month later, like, hey, John, you said you wanted me to get on the Capital Hacking podcast with Josh, and I haven't heard from you. So I just love that accountability and just who you are and who, I'm getting to know you now as a friend, and I appreciate that.
No problem. We had a few drinks. I didn't want you to forget. I think Josh picked up the bill for that too.
I did. Well, we love you guys.
Thank you very much for your hospitality up there. And I love Renault Winery, and I love the atmosphere in the wintertime there. It looked like a winter wonderland when I was there.
Yeah, you did. You did come on a great day. We appreciate you guys, and we can't wait to follow up. And everybody, let's free some more capital out of Wall Street. Let's look into self-directed IRA. It's fun. $32 trillion surprise capital resource.
Yeah.
It's all right, guys. Thank you so much. Talk to you again.
Cheers.
Thanks
Carl.
a lot. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Damn straight. We just got we got to the end of another great show. And everyone listening right now, you're the family and friends. Thanks for staying till the end.
That was so fun. And hey, hit the like, hit subscribe. We're here to serve you guys. That's why we're doing this show. Josh is not paying me. I'm doing this off of my quote unquote sweat equity because we want to make a difference in your life. And then that ripple effect will continue to touch the world.
Hey, amen, brother. Please check us out on capitalhacking.com, all the social media threads. And yes, I know you've probably already sent this episode to one of your best friends. Thank you. We love you. Just go right into your iPhone, hit the plus symbol. We'll talk to you later. See you next week.
Share.